Hey everyone, it's Brad Hornby here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. As we approach the middle of November, well, there's not anything official yet, but there's starting to be some word out there that the NHL might be coming closer to making an announcement of what the 2020-21 season is going to entail in terms of how many games, how the games are going to go, and possible divisions. As it does sound like, especially still we are fighting COVID-19 with the global pandemic, and unfortunately, where I am and many other parts in Canada and the U.S., numbers are getting worse again as cases have been rising, and some jurisdictions are threatening or imposing lockdowns, which could affect the NHL plans on how they plan to return. As the commissioner and with Gary Bettman and Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly apparently was starting to talk with the owners and Board of Governors that they're still targeting January 1st as when the hockey season is going to begin. So here we are in the middle of November that the Calgary Flames, as well as all the other teams, meant to say are going to have to start training camp here very soon if they want to start at the beginning of January. That the training camps will have to start within a month, as you got to get players who are elsewhere, especially with the Quarantine Act in Canada, that they need to get from overseas, other parts of the country, other parts of North America, to their home NHL cities to get ready for camp and get ready for the next season. There is a couple possibilities that I have been hearing, is that maybe there will be a season starting in hub cities, or maybe we're also hearing that they're going to want to play in their home stadiums, in their home cities, but with no fans initially, or in some cases, depending on where jurisdictions are at in their battle with COVID-19, that maybe there'll be some fans in attendance. These, as we know, during the return to play for the conclusion of the 2019-20 season with the playoffs and the Stanley Cup, the Baltimores was successful. They were able to get all the games in. Everyone was healthy. No positive cases of COVID. However, the NHL did say that cost them $75 to $100 million US to impose that, with the constant testing, accommodating the players and all that, and setting everything up, that the league is going to have to find ways to, obviously get money. And one of the ways has been the reverse retros and teams, revealing their fashion for this upcoming season, which I do plan to make videos ranking them as I see them all. But there's still just many possibilities that the NHL is still figuring out. That we're hearing that they want to start January 1st. They're also hoping to maybe end the season by the end of April. And you can look at the lockout shortened seasons as a framework, that those seasons were 48 games. Personally, I think, just to make it practically, I know that there is going to be temporarily divisional lineups, or alignments I should say, where there'll be a Canadian division, for example, because of the closure of the Canada-US border, that you have like all the West teams temporarily one division, and the kind of the Central, South, and the East teams, and they will only play teams in that said makeshift division for this upcoming season. And of course, I'd be excited for that, to see nothing but Canadian teams. But I've also been hearing that it's going to be interesting how they're going to come up with the schedule, because there might still be a tendency to have an outbreak where someone could test positive for COVID, that games could either get postponed or canceled, that they need to find that buffer. Because I think I heard Elliot Friedman was also looking at having a flexible 2-week period from when the season ends into the playoffs, to kind of plan for that, if someone tests positive, where they have to, go through a procedure and protocol to shut things down for a couple days and make sure it's all good, and have the person who tested positive isolate until they get better and fit to come back. that they need to have that buffer, and best case scenario is if it's not used, they can move up the Stanley Cup playoffs earlier. And I know when you look at those lockout shortened seasons, that they were 48 games. They started mid-January, and the season ended by the end of April. That's kind of that drop dead date for having the season end, so that you can have your 2-month Stanley Cup playoffs. So you can hopefully have the Stanley Cup awarded by the end of June or early July if needed. Because now we obviously want to have the 2021-22 season start on time with the Seattle Kraken coming in. But then there's the extra business that, well, I mean, obviously you have the draft and free frenzy, but you also got the expansion draft too that you got to incorporate in. And the league will get some money. It just worked out this way. It wasn't planned that, when Seattle came in, it would come just after a devastating global pandemic where, $650 million US comes into the league's coffers that gets distributed around the league. That just worked out that way. At least there's that lifeline, but, it's all about trying to stay business and survive. And, hopefully, the league's looking at a couple possible avenues of having hub cities, maybe, where they can compress the schedule a little. I'm thinking 48 to 60. That's probably where you realistically can get a season in. I mean, if it's all going to be regionalized, you almost got to wonder, could there potentially be opening up where, if you go back to the lockout short seasons, it was just conference play, where it was just Western Conference play, for example, and Eastern Conference play. The only interconference you got was the Stanley Cup Finals, and that will obviously be the case this season. And I would be really excited for a Canadian division just because of the intriguing matchups. And, assuming that if the top four make each playoffs, that we're going to be guaranteed at least one Canadian team to get to the conference championships. Now that would be nice as well to look forward to. And the only dream that would be these guys, the Calgary Flames, to get there. But there's just still a lot of variables. But I think, you're likely either going to see empty stadiums, maybe some fans later in the season. There is some hope, maybe, that last week that Pfizer, the pharmaceutical company, came out, said that they're in the last stages of trials, and they said that vaccine trial has been proven to be 90% effective, so maybe there might be some hope that eventually the vaccine would be available to the public, that maybe by playoff time more people will get the vaccine. And I know this is questionable, but Ticketmaster is also planning on saying that in order to buy a ticket, they want to verify that you got vaccinated before you go to the crowds. There might be some sacrifice you have to make. And me personally, I'm going to get vaccinated as soon as I can because I want to get back to the game. I want to be able to get out more and come up with video ideas more out and make my on-the-road videos. But let's just say if that happens, maybe by the time we get to the Stanley Cup playoffs, we'll have fans in attendance that will still put some money in the league coffers. And I think the league's going to have to come up with a model that the revenue is going to have to be shared amongst everybody. When there is some markets that they can have fans in attendance while others they don't, they're going to have to do that for sure this season. And the cap's going to be flat for the next few years anyway. But there's just lots of ideas you're still hearing there. They're going to be traveling, but they're going to minimize the travel with these temporary divisions. In the case with the Canadian teams, it's the fact that they'll play each other, only each other, and they don't have to worry about going over the border. Although it's still what remains to be seen about, farm teams, for example, Calgary Flames with the farm team in Stockton. Or the other interesting thing is, let's say if the Flames want to make a trade with someone that's not in Canada, how's that going to work too? And at least in Alberta, they're trialing the rapid testing where you don't have to quarantine for 14 days. That if you get tested and your test comes back negative after you travel, they can only isolate for 2 days. So maybe that might speed things up. Don't know, but there's just still other variables in play. There might be hub cities where teams would, 3 teams would play in the hub city, get their bunch of games in, and then have a week off, because the league's also trying to figure out the balance of getting games in and having time for everyone to go home and see their families and take care of life stuff, because they're human beings just like us, believe it or not, except they just have to be very, very good at hockey. But that's all I'd have to say for any more NHL updates. That here we are in the middle of November. It's getting closer that I think they're going to be an announcement or some knowing that could training camp start next month, or maybe it still could get pushed back to the middle of January. Number of games. I mean, it all depends on where things are at with COVID-19, and unfortunately the numbers are getting worse in the wrong direction here where I am, and basically everywhere in Canada and US. I mean, we're in the cold and flu season, although it's interesting they say that, COVID cases are rising, but no one's gotten the flu. Yeah, sure. But, that's for another story. So as I say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home of the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders, just make sure you hit like, subscribe. I also do talk Calgary sports on my channel. I also do have personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and I also do share my experience living on the road. We're at a sporting event. Hopefully I can do that sooner rather than later, assuming this pandemic ever ends and I can go out and do that kind of stuff. But that is all on my channel in the meantime. So if that all sounds like it'd be interesting to watch, do follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey. You know what you need to do, just make sure you hit like, subscribe. I also have my other social media links down in the description below for other ways you can follow me and get any potential updates on the channel. So as I say, go Flames go, and hopefully in a couple of months we'll be saying that for real for games, regardless if they're playing, let's say, in the Saddledome or some yet to be determined hub city, or at least have games to recap, because that's one thing I do on my YouTube channel. As hopefully in a couple of months we'll have some Calgary Flames and Calgary Hitmen games to recap in my, when I talk about games that have happened and looking at the games in the schedule. So as I say, I'll see you in the next video in the meantime.